Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1848BN. Today's date is April 22nd, 2019. The title of this report is, "With this one tweet, Trump just slammed down the hammer." Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about the threats nowadays in America, especially with the caravans bombarding the border. One of the best things you can invest in for your home protection is a Patriot flashlight. And why not purchase one of the best flashlights on the market? It has life-saving emergency strobe lights. You can charge your phone anywhere, anytime, with a USB port. Other features include compass, rope, wire cutter, solar-powered recharging, high and low beam LED modes, glass-breaking hammer. Limited supplies last, and this is the very last chance you can get yours at a discount before they sell out. Purchase the best flashlight on the market and get 20% off when you use the code X20. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, they are throwing everything they possibly can at Trump, even the kitchen sink, because they know they are trapped. They know that the hammer is coming down. And with one tweet, Trump just slammed down the hammer, which we'll be getting into in just a moment. But first, let's look at all the fake news bombshells that the media spread around, telling the world that this is absolute truth, it's gospel, you need to believe it. Because the Steele dossier, the Russian collusion, was real. So when we had all these fact checkers, when we had Google and YouTube and Snopes and all these fact checkers telling us that this is true, every single thing they told us that was true turned out to be fake. New York Magazine, McClatchy, Michael Cohen went to Prague. BuzzFeed, Trump directed Michael Cohen to lie, and Mueller has emails proving it. New York Times, Paul Manafort passed polling information to Kremlin. Axios, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein forced out. NBC News, federal investigators wiretapped Trump's personal attorney Michael Cohen, have recordings of Trump. Associated Press, phony Russian dossier was initially funded by a Republican group. ABC News, Donald Trump directed Flynn to make contact with Russian officials during the 2016 presidential election campaign. Talking Points memo, Russian social media company provided documents to Senate about communications with Trump official. CNN, Donald Trump Jr. conspired with WikiLeaks. Number 10, Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal. Robert Mueller subpoenaed Trump's Deutsche Bank records. All of these, and there's many more. There's about 51 bombshell stories, and Cheryl Atkinson, Glenn Greenwald, and Sarab Amari, they put this entire list together, and you can see that each and every one of them was fake news. So when you go back to the tweets of Trump where he says fake news is the enemy of the people, that they are fake news, you can see they are. They are fake news. Now, we are learning a lot since the Mueller report came out, and we can see that many things have come out and surfaced, and many people are saying, well, that story is fake, that thing is fake, and a lot of the things in the Mueller report are completely fake, and the people are ripping it apart. Paul Sperry tweeted out the following. Breaking. After IG Horowitz forced Mueller to kick politically biased Trump hater Strzok off his investigative team, Mueller embedded FBI analyst in his office whose sole purpose was writing summaries of his investigation and reporting findings back to Strzok's CI team at FBI headquarters. He also tweeted out, breaking, Mueller kept Strzok and his CI team in the loop even after having to fire the Trump hater for bias. Now, the deep state, they have lost Mueller. They've lost their firewall, their blockade. The Mueller report is not what they needed because they were trying to push impeachment. All of this is going down the tubes. And the deep state knows pain is coming. And they're panicking. And they're reaching for anything they possibly can at this point. Nadler, he was on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. And he was out there, and his voice was very nervous. You could see he was stumbling with his words. He couldn't really speak that well. And Chuck Todd failed to correct Nadler when he made an inaccurate statement. He said, I don't understand why he didn't charge Don Jr. and others in the famous meeting with the criminal conspiracy. They entered into a meeting of the minds to attend a meeting to get stolen material on Hillary. They went to the meeting. That's conspiracy right there, he added. Despite the claim, Trump Jr. was not offered stolen material before accepting the June 9, 2016 meeting. Trump Jr. accepted the meeting after a music publicist named Rob Goldstone emailed him on June 3, 2016, saying that a Russian attorney wanted to meet with the campaign to provide information about former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's possible ties to Russia. Goldstone said that the lawyer offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia. They weren't stolen, and guess what? That never happened. But nowhere did Goldstein claim that the information about Clinton was stolen. It was later revealed that the information contained in a memo that the lawyer Natalia took into the meeting was compiled by Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm that was hired by the DNC and Clinton campaign to investigate Donald Trump. Mueller's team investigated the meeting and interviewed most of the participants, but according to the report, prosecutors determined that nothing of value was exchanged in the meeting and that there was no evidence that the participants willfully broke any laws. Nadler is fishing right now, and he's completely wrong. Elijah Cummings is out there. He's the House Oversight Committee chairman. He is begging for help. He wants whistleblowers in the government to spill information on Trump and his team. He said, I want to say to everybody, all of my whistleblowers, we need your help because the president and his lawyers are blocking every bit of information that we need to do our investigation. He has been trying to block us. I beg you, whistleblowers, come out and help us. Call us, he said. No, what he's doing is he's trying to find something on Trump. What they investigated, everything they have been doing, they can't find anything. There's no criminal act and there's no reason for any bank to hand over any records to this investigative team. Plus, they're keeping the Republicans completely out of the loop. And we know, and they know, the D-class is coming very soon. I would expect some more false flag events to clog the news cycles because they know it's coming very, very soon. They don't know exactly when, and I believe they're going to continually hit the mainstream media with these small type of false flag events to keep the news cycle clogged because they don't know exactly when the D-class is going to hit. They already know what the D-class is. Why? Because they already know what they've done. The mainstream media already knows. That's why they're doing this. Because they don't know the specific time period when it's all going to hit. And we know from Gates that the IG report will be looking into the social interactions between the FBI and the mainstream media and who in the FBI leaked info to the mainstream media. Jeff Carlson tweeted out the following. From the IG report, we will separately report on those investigations as they are concluded, consistent with the Inspector General IG Act, other applicable federal statutes, and OIG policy. So this is from the IG report. Second, although FBI policy strictly limits the employees who are authorized to speak to the media, we found that this policy appeared to be widely ignored during the period we reviewed. We identified numerous FBI employees at all levels of the organization and with no official reason to be in contact with the media, who were nevertheless in frequent contact with reporters. The large number of FBI employees who were in contact with journalists during this time period impacted our ability to identify the sources of leaks. For example, during the period we reviewed, we identified dozens of FBI employees that had contact with the members of the media. Attached to this report as attachments G and H are link charts that reflects the volume of communications that we identified between FBI employees and media representatives in April, May, and October 2016. In addition to the significant number of communications between the FBI employees and journalists, we identified social interactions between FBI employees and journalists that were, at a minimum, inconsistent with FBI policy and department ethic rules. For example, We identified instances where the FBI employees received tickets to sporting events from journalists, went on golfing outings with media representatives, were treated to drinks and meals after work by reporters, and were the guests of journalists at non-public social events. We will separately report on those investigations as they are concluded, consistent with the Inspector General Act, other applicable federal statutes, and OIG policy. Everything is coming down around these people. It's not just the government deep state individuals. It's going to spread to the mainstream media. And this is why POTUS Schedule tweeted out that tweet yesterday, which referred to 18 U.S. Code Section 2385, advocating overthrow of government. It was tweeted out on purpose to let everyone know that they're going after the mainstream media, the fake news. Now, Trump is pushing back on impeachment. He tweeted out the following: "Only high crimes and misdemeanors can lead to impeachment. There were no crimes by me, no collusion, no obstruction. So you can't impeach. It was the Democrats that committed the crimes, not your Republican president. Tables are finally turning on the witch hunt." Think about what he just said here. He said Democrats committed the crimes. The deep state players, they're the ones who did all of this. Everything that they were pushing out there, Russian collusion, Trump doing all these different things, it was really them. Think mirror. Now, we know that the deep state, the Dems, Nadler, Elijah Cumming, Schiff, all these players that they're corrupt themselves, they're trying to get the financial records of Trump, his organization himself. They want his tax records. They want everything. But Trump's legal team, they are suing the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Chairman Elijah Cumming to block a subpoena for financial records from an accounting firm used by the Trump organization. In a lawsuit which was filed on Monday in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Trump's attorney write the subpoena lacks any legitimate legislative purpose, is an abuse of power, and is just another example of overreach by the president's political opponents. The lawsuit further accuses Cummings of failing to consult with Republicans on the panel before issuing the subpoena, and says he relied on the testimony of Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, which, as we know, he is a known liar. He lied under oath, and he continues to lie. And we can see that they are stopping these ridiculous investigations. There's no basis for it anymore. Mueller is gone. The Russian collusion, the obstruction, everything else, they have nothing. And this is what they're worried about. They're worried that they have nothing. And Representative Doug Collins tweeted out the following: "Claims #Mueller report punts the special counsel's work to Congress are wrong. The report analyzes Congress's constitutional authority to legislate. It doesn't upend the separation of powers by calling Congress to continue a completed Department of Justice investigation. The investigation is completed. Congress doesn't have the right to continue it." And this is what they're trying to do because they didn't get what they wanted. Mueller didn't deliver. Why? Because he's fighting for his life. Now, Trump, he's completely turning the tables on the deep state. Now, this one tweet, which he said before, but he just did it in one tweet here, he just slammed down the hammer on all these individuals. How do you impeach a Republican president for a crime that was committed by the Democrats? Make America great again. He's letting everyone know that they're the ones who committed the crimes. They're the ones who did everything that they've been talking about. And Tom Fitton, he tweeted out the following: "Coup update. Who needs to be investigated on #Spygate and other abuses targeting @Real Donald Trump? Partial list." And we know these players: Obama, Biden, Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton, DNC, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, McCabe, Lynch, Page, Strzok, Yates, and there's many more. And we can see we are headed in this direction. The hammer is slamming down on all of these people. And they're nervous, they're afraid, they don't know what to do, they are panicking, and we can see that the only thing they have left, their last resort, is a major event. And we can see that Q, the Patriots, they are continually pushing out disinformation, so they don't know what's going on, and they don't know when to use it. But we can see that all the pieces are coming together to make the case against all these individuals. Think about what just happened out in Ukraine. Vladimir Zelensky, he's a comedian. He just won the election in Ukraine. Poroshenko is out. And what is he looking to do? He's looking to remove corruption in government. So Trump called him and congratulated Zelensky for the win and highlighted the peaceful and democratic election process. Trump also emphasized the U.S. support of Ukraine's territorial sovereignty and indicating willingness to work with the newly elected president to strengthen democracy, increase prosperity, and root out corruption. And if you look at the elections, Zelensky received 73% of the nationwide vote, while Poroshenko received 25%. Poroshenko is facing allegations of corruption. Let's go back to post 3124. Now, this was back on March 20th, 2019. And this was an article by John Solomon that talks about how the prosecutor in Ukraine is looking into collusion by Hillary Clinton to fix the elections in 2016. So they're probing into all of this. And Q told us about this, and now Trump will work with the new president on fighting corruption. All the pieces are coming together. And who else was in Ukraine? Biden. Who else helped in Ukraine? Obama. Who else helped? Victoria Nuland. Remember, they had regime change there. It was an overthrow of an elected official. It's all coming down around them. Now, the White House announced that it would terminate waivers from U.S. sanctions granted to some of Iran's biggest oil customers. And this is a major step towards the administration's goal of reducing Iranian oil exports to zero. Trump withdrew from the Iranian nuclear deal last May and restored sanctions on Iranian oil in November. He granted waivers to 8 countries that purchase large quantities of Iranian oil, including several close U.S. allies, China, India, South Korea, Japan, Italy, Greece, Taiwan, Turkey. They received exemptions. Now, most of the recipients had already reduced their purchases of Iranian oil. Several made commitments to cut back even more, and 3 nations, Greece, Italy, and Taiwan, have reduced Iranian imports to zero. And we see that Trump is putting pressure on Iran. Now, remember, John Kerry set up the deal, went to Iran while Trump was president, and tried to figure out a way to keep this deal alive. And now Trump is tweeting out that Obama's Secretary of State, John Kerry, might be in a big violation of the Logan Act over his talks with Iran. And yes, he is. Now, the Logan Act was signed into law by President John Adams at the genesis of the Republic in 1799. The act prohibits private correspondence with foreign government and states that U.S. citizens cannot directly or indirectly have any correspondence with a foreign government in relation to any dispute with the United States. Let's go back to post-1948. Here, Q is talking about Iran, talking about what Obama has done, what John Kerry has done, and says the following: Hussein should be very nervous. Brennan should be very nervous. Kerry should be very nervous. Merkel should be very nervous, plus 29. And you can see Trump right now is looking at this because we know there was pallets of cash that was delivered. It was not approved by Congress. This was all done behind the scenes. Congress found out about this later on, and this deal has nothing to do with benefiting the United States. Now, Iran, they're responding to Trump saying that they're going to block the Strait of Hormuz. And first of all, this is international water, so they can't really block it. And they're just out there pounding their chest right now. Remember, there are many bad actors within Iran. Why do you think John Kerry was out there? He was out there to make sure that everything was still in place because he knew the patriots were coming after them, just like North Korea, just like Venezuela, just like Cuba, and all these other areas. What Trump is doing right now and all the patriots, they're not just draining the swamp in government. They're draining the swamp around the world. Remember, the CIA has many, the intelligence organizations, the clowns, they have many different organizations within these countries, different sites, and they use it to control these countries. And what Trump and the patriots are doing right now, they are pushing to try to remove these individuals. In North Korea, they were able to remove these individuals in North Korea. This is why Kim Jong-un is able to travel outside of the country. He has a lot more flexibility. The same thing's happening with Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran. Now, Pompeo, he is out there saying, listen, there's going to be no military exercises in Iran to spur regime change. Now, Trump doesn't work this way. He doesn't push war. He doesn't want regime change. He's not going to do what the deep state did. I know everyone is thinking like, oh, the military is going to march into Venezuela. No, everyone thought it was going to happen in Syria. Everyone thought it was going to happen in North Korea. No, their real mission is to go after those deep state players. Once they are removed, everything can then be negotiated because there's no more pressure behind a lot of these leaders. And we can see that the deep state, they are becoming very desperate. And like we said before, they're pushing these small events to clog the news cycle. Now, it's very interesting, and you can see they're all on the same page. And I do believe the tweets that we're going to discuss in a second, they were coordinated to let everyone know that these individuals, well, they knew what was going on. Now, we know that in Sri Lanka, there was a bombing. This was during Easter. And we know that this event clogged the news cycles, and it's still clogging the news cycles, and it's going to die off. But what's very interesting is that Obama, we had Hillary Clinton, we had Julian Castro, Jared Polis, who was a governor of Colorado, they all tweeted out the same thing. The attacks on tourists and Easter worshippers in Sri Lanka are an attack on humanity. One, on a day devoted to love, redemption, and renewal, we pray for the victims and stand with the people of Sri Lanka. This was from Obama. Hillary Clinton, on this holy weekend for many faiths, we must stand united against hatred and violence. I'm praying for everyone affected by today's horrific acts on Easter worshippers and travelers in Sri Lanka. Julian Castro. On a day of redemption and hope, the evil of these attacks on Easter worshippers and tourists in Sri Lanka is deeply saddening. My prayers today are with the dead and injured and their families. May we find grace. Jared Polis. Heartbreaking to learn about the attacks on tourists and Easter worshippers in Sri Lanka. Colorado stands with the people of Sri Lanka during the very tragic day, and we grieve for those affected by these acts of violence. Now, it's very strange that they're using Easter worshippers. They're Christians in a church. I mean, do we say Christmas worshippers or, any other holiday? No. And it looks like they're on the same exact script. And you can see that they're pushing a certain agenda. I believe this is a message that's being pushed out there that there's going to be more events coming because they know the D-class is coming. And the D-class is going to bring down the house. The D-class is going to shine the light on all these individuals and expose the corruption, the treason, the crimes against humanity, and they know it's coming. And then we have the OIG report, and then we have the other reports coming, and we can see they are panicking. This is how they react when they know they're being cornered. And you can see the time is coming, and it's approaching very, very quickly. And Trump is continually tweeting out, letting everyone know, and he's slamming down the hammer. He's directly pointing the fingers at these individuals. He named them by name. He's saying that it was the Democrats that committed these crimes. He's letting everyone know this is where you're going to be looking. And you can see that this is coming any day. Pain is coming. Justice is coming. This is not about a 4-year election. This is about draining the swamp, getting rid of these deep state corrupt individuals, not just within government, but in the mainstream media also, because they're all tied together. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.